One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Poetry Salon and Words with You. I'm Trisha Fay Huntner. I'm getting over a cold, so I can't even pronounce my own name correctly. But I'm Trisha Fay Hefner Rubenstein, and my co-host with the co-most is Robbie Nestor. And today we have Jody Stewart and Bung Kong Tuan, who we're gonna call BK. And I am really excited to get to hear them read today. And I also want to make a quick little announcement. Most of you know that the Poetry Salon is on a mission to make inspiration and education available through the magic of Zoom. And at the end of November, we're going to do a week of workshops on donation basis. And these workshops are geared towards helping people write poems as gifts. And we're going to have a couple of different fun activities for how to turn a piece of writing into something that might be a holiday present or a birthday present, or any kind of present, because we want to encourage people to make presents around the holiday and participate in no buy and no corporate Christmas and other holidays. And all of that is on donation basis, and the donations go to Second Harvest because, of course, there are so many people who need the support right now. So if anyone has any questions about that, please hit me up at trishafayhefner@gmail.com, and you can check out more at the Poetry Salon stack.substack.com, and that's where you're going to find more information and the recording eventually of our reading. So that's my announcement. And now, Robbie Nestor, over to you.
If I can get this thing to cooperate and pull up the bios, here we go. All right. My name's Robbie Nestor. I'm the co-host and curator of this series, and I'm going to introduce the two features for today. Our first reader will be Pamela Jody Stewart, whose most recent book is The Momentary World, Selected Poems, 1975 to 2014, published by 9 Mile Books in 2022. She's been a recipient of grants from the Guggenheim Foundation, Massachusetts Cultural Foundation, and the support of a Hawthornden Fellowship and the Elizabeth George Foundation. She lives on a retired farm in Western Massachusetts with 2 great friends and a small selection of wobbly animals and a beautiful stray cat, Flash, who resides now in the big blue barn. Don't you wish you could reside in a big blue barn?
Yes. What?
There we go.
That you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Do I go?
Oh. Yeah. We were out there sleeping just because I was there, right?
Am I to start
Here,
now?
wake up. Just
Could everyone else please mute
Okay.
besides Jody? Thank you.
Well, first, thank you very much for inviting me. And it's just a kick to see some familiar faces that I rarely get to see in real life and to meet new people. I'm going to open with one poem from this momentary world, which I'm really kind of fond of because there's a childhood place that I used to stay on the cover. And this is a true story, pretty much. A Tibetan man in Hawley, Massachusetts. Just one step off the edge into the deep wrong place, and a shoe pulls off, is lost. Amidst twigs, leaves, mosses, and stones, this shoe cannot be found by eyes or strong hands. Even digging into the exact place the shoe exited its foot, farther down than the shoe could have delved, there's no black shoe. What now? The man stands in thick, dry grasses at road's edge and decides on the one thing children in his village were taught to do. Slipping off his other shoe, he flings it over to where the first black shoe must have gone. How long should he wait for one shoe to find the other? It's August, too hot to stand for long without flies catching in his hair. The shoes have tongues. They should call to one another. It's hot, but the man from Tibet will pace this roadside ditch, waiting for his shoes to rise out of the shadows. And as far as we know, there's a shoe still down there. But it occurred to me when I read this earlier that maybe that's a kind of poem that I could say was a little bit about the diaspora. And it's one of my fervent wishes that somewhere, sometime, the Tibetan people will find their home again. Most of what I'm going to read is hasn't been published. I don't know why I'm doing this. Since I see my friend Susan Eisenberg out in the realm of the screen, I have much to thank for all the kindness she shows me in looking at my work. This is a poem that is based on a excuse me, a moment or two from a long time ago, or it seems a long time ago, when I was living in Cornwall. And it has a slight implication of a narrative, which I hope is just like it's invisible. This is called Penwith Moon, and Penwith Peninsula is the far southwest of England, where Land's End is, where Penzance is, where the artist colonies are. Penwith Moon. Then she stops on the cliff path, steps closer to the edge, and listens how the rocks and sea talk to one another as the tide ebbs. It's so beautiful here, she says. I wish I were in love. Her eyes are gray, mine brown, as we look at each other completely. Our two husbands play euchre back in town. The conscience of marriage is fragile, and the woman on the path who is raised Catholic pulls her blue jacket tightly around her. The sea wind is bright across bracken and gorse. An intermittent singing of birds rises and drifts. The higher we walk, the wider the sea, outlined by this peninsula's iridescent edges. But that was then, which is also now, as I think of her more deeply than I have in years. The world is multiple and one. Tonight, the moon's a soft distortion, an egg in its silken skin. Now, this early morning, I watched that same moon set, wide as memory's boat, its color of beaten eggs and cream. The wind blows colder than it should in May. I begin to twist dead twigs from a shrub, recalling its pink flowers, their small bees. At the feeder, a delirious fluster of wings. The years are shrinking. I'm mottled and dragging a knee, but I still know where he lives, that boy I'd loved. Such distortions as over and over we'd fallen into each other near our own hidden place where birds sang not far from the sea. And yes, I told my dead and gray-eyed friend.
Mm. Wow.
I was sort of celebrating the full moon, which really lived with me last night. Cloudy now, so I don't get the full results right now. But there's nothing like a full moon in the countryside. This is also a new poem, ish, pretty ish. I recently adopted a fifth senior dog. This time it was a boy and a small dog, because I don't do small dogs. And it's a very long dog. It's a really looks like it's a combination of a dachshund and a golden retriever. And so he's kind of a weird dude. And when he was sitting on my lap under a tree, I was thinking of that Chekhov story, The Lady and the Lap Dog, which this poem really does not reflect, but only sort of. And then I had the phrase came into my head, and it was too cute to leave alone. The Lady and the Overlapping Dog. So here's the poem. The Lady and the Overlapping Dog. In Chekhov's story, did the little dog unfold within her skirt, or drape a leg, ruffled neck, or tail down across the fur-trimmed cuffs of her black felted coat? Were the pup's ears tawny and alert, or buffers flat against cold and rain? Was there more than one dog at once? Is fiction's truth the most durable? Is a story most useful within the dark notions of a schoolroom? A child tells the truth that she didn't really do her chores, and by so confessing, is punished for the truth. Now, one big, tall parent can never be trusted. The little dog is restless and needs to pee. In the heavy enclosing lap of that elegant fictional lady, the little dog feels trapped. He splays, stretches, pulls away, and down he goes onto the cold carriage floor. It's snowing, and the lady's feet are poised on a heated stone. The dog is small, but lanky, and stretches as vast as that space we know too well from childhood's realm, its overlap of truth and fiction on which all our hopes rely. I'm trying to watch the time. I'm not sure if I'll read this or not. I'll set it aside. This is also a new poem. Over the summer, I wrote 2 skinny poems, and I don't really write skinny poems. I write little blocks. So this was fun and surprising. And so when I read it out loud, it feels more like my 1970s memories of what a Creeley poem should sound like, but probably doesn't. So it's also a poem about having learned a new word. So I'm not going to tell you what it means, but many of you will know. And it comes from extraction and clarification. Enucleation, extract, clarify, and what was there couldn't be more spring water clear, emptied and sewn shut with a dark thread. The one-eyed horse, now less sure, but of an endurance which has made it through its skirmishes of body and confusion. Eyes? I wear 2. They'll do for now, but so much now chews at its edges, the way the horse lips down, just missing his feeder, half full of the sweet and vanishing grains. As you could tell, an enucleation is the removal of an eye, which the horse found not to his liking, but it was necessary. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time, so I will read this little prosy piece. Sometimes I sit down and I write a paragraph or 2 because I'm not writing poetry, and sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't. So I think this one, which is kind of awkward and rough, is pretty much something we'll all have a familiarity with. The idea and I. The idea and I move apart. I see her walking away with her red hat, thick black shoes, and Mary Poppins skirt. She'd arrived, sat down across from me at the morning table, but refused anything to drink. The idea kept still, mirroring me with chin in hands. I sipped coffee and watched her start moving her fingers as though testing a piano exercise. I almost spoke, almost opened myself to a sentence with its little black feet paddling the air. The idea looked me up and down. I topped up my mug and reached for that handy pad of paper. The idea shifted impatiently. Her head was bent, so I touched a finger to her red cap. She, too, reached out a finger, sighed. I know what you're like. Don't go, I whispered. I want to see your face. She raised her eyes, one blue, one dark. Where was that first word? I looked at the yellow paper just as the big, messy dog bumbled downstairs to scratch at the door. I ruffled his back, let him out, turned, and the red cap was gone, just one fading fingerprint on my inner wrist. This is a poem written in response to a card from a pen pal, somebody I met once, very, very long time ago. And it just kind of broke my heart. So it's called What Now? Here is a book and bird song, a meadow and the Clark Museum. Here is your hushed canvas and the first week you held those skeins of handspun with which you soothe winter, dreaming of when you raised your own fine sheep on that farm you and he homesteaded in Vermont. Now the backyard solace of June exhales its flounce of roses, cream and Victorian pink brushed to taupe at the edges. Your ragged lilacs are gone by, but the allium and snooty circus-hued lilies will present themselves for a torrent of praise. Take the cast iron brown smudge from under your eyes, the bitten thumbnail. Take them out of today's story, if only for a breath. Can you turn from his anger, the smeared walker he bangs through doorways with his fear which is always lashing, yelling how you never do anything right, how you must slip and sway through this day by day, pondering that gray block of a building with its hard to reach, hard to leave second floor, its tightly locked front door. Perhaps get a bed nearest the window. Be free to look out at zinnias, marigolds, that bony hedge below a half-filled bird feeder lurching in the breeze. How love both binds and shreds. Is it still possible to be good? Oh, this cold despair which you endure and share. Still, just now, one tentative black bee trembles, then lifts within this low hour's unfolding roses. And how am I doing for time, Robbie? Okay. Just a couple more. A very short poem. I think it's about balance. We'll see. It's called Equinox. It's a rispetto, which I also learned from Susan Eisenberg, which is 11 syllable lines, 8 line stanzas. And they could be one stanza or a gazillion. So this is equinox. This is when the apples start coming. 4 apples, that's all he wanted for the day. Red to polish, yellow speckled at the mouth, green to push the angled voices far away. The bowl of his hands holds such distant fruit, keeps him whole, steady as he walks toward the bench where he'll sit in the dark pew of in between.
What are you doing down there?
What? Should I start this over? Oh, sorry. I've lost my place. Let me see. Eat 4 apples, that's all he wanted for the day. Red to polish, yellow speckled at the mouth. Green to push the angled voices far away. The bowl of his hands holding such distant fruit keeps him whole, steady as he walks towards the bench where he'll sit in the dark pew of in between. The apple in his pocket begins to chill, but the man is warm, exactly on time. And I'll close, I think, with again a newer poem, one of the skinny poems. At this point, it's called Closer, but hopefully there's a better title. I am dying of time, and the air haunts my skin is not always a friend. When I touch the table, the book, my pen, I enter the right room, and its moment gathers like a bouquet. I think of them, well, not all, but the loose gathering, bloom and stem, of those I'd loved or tried to, of those I could almost touch, but never hold. Really, they were few. Each day I ask again, trying for the humility to wrestle me back towards that soft wall of intention. Some bird just flew by, flung a splat on dusk's window. Now, when I turn or fall against that soft intention, I blush, shift colors, bloom at all my edges. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And
Thank
I
you.
want to remind everyone who is not reading that they need to mute themselves. Thank you very much.
Now I need to mute. I need to find my muty part. Okay.
Yeah, that's at the far left on PCs and on iPads and that sort of thing. It's
I got it.
usually on the top right. Okay. All right. So our next reader, Bong Kong Tuan is a Cambodian American writer, Pushcart Prize winning poet, and professor who teaches at Union College in Schenectady in New York. In 2024, he published What Is Left, a greatest hit chapbook from Jakar Press. And I don't know how to pronounce your novel. I've read it, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So you tell me. How do you pronounce? I can't hear you. You need to unmute.
It's Golden Khmer.
Gon
Khmer.
Khmer. Okay,
Perfect.
Khmer. His debut novel from Northwestern University Press, Curbstone Books. He lives with his wife and children in upstate New York. Take it away, BK.
Thank you, Robbie. And it's a pleasure and honor to be reading with Jody. An apology sort of first, because it's been a very long day. I've taught and met with students and screening and all that stuff. So I'm kind of out of it, but I will do my best as a way to honor Jody and Robbie for having me here. Okay. I'll start with a new poem and a couple poems from What Is Left, and then maybe one or two new poems if time permits. I like to think of myself as a spiritual poet. I don't mean in the sense of a religious poet, but somebody whose writing sort of taps on the door where on the other side is the spirit of my mom and dad, my grandmother, and others. So it's not religious in terms of looking for God or gods, but a way to kind of communicate with the spirit world. So I'll be reading poems along that line. So this one's called The Gift. Night, the dead wake up and speak. You write to honor, seek justice. Their thoughts are part your thoughts, part air, part night, part terror. You do this again and again, though many will not listen, many will not understand. You write knowing it will stop only when you stop. It isn't just a duty, it's the air you breathe. For you, who were once close to it, you must make something of this precious gift the dead gave you. So a couple poems from What Is Left. And I usually start with this one called Under the Tamarind Tree. It's a poem about sort of the only memory that I have of my mother, and it happens to be the memory of her passing. And I call it my sort of origin poem because it has to do with the loss of my mother and then eventually the loss of my motherland, I guess. And I see myself in this sense starting out as a poet of loss, as a poet who looks at the past and tries to suture the wounds of the past. So this is called Under the Tamarind Tree. The child sits on the lap of his aunt under the old tamarind tree outside the family home. The tree stands still, quiet, indifferent. The house sways on stilts. Monks in saffron robes and nuns with shaved heads, lips darkened with betel nut stain, sit chanting prayers for the child's mother. Incense perfumes the hot, dry air. There emerges a strange, familiar song between the child and his aunt that day. A distant one, melodic but harsh, as if the strings are drawn too tight. Each time the child hears prayers coming from the house, he cries. Each time he cries, the aunt, a girl herself, pinches the boy's thigh. The second poem is about my father. What is Love is really a sort of a family portrait in poetry. So you meet my mom under the tamarind tree, my father, my grandmother. You'll meet my children too, and of course my uncles and aunts and other sort of Khmer, Cambodian people um, that are important to me. This one has to do with I grew up without knowing my parents, without knowing my mom, and without knowing my dad. And in about 2015, 2014, I led a term abroad in Vietnam. And I took that as an opportunity to visit my father's side of the family. They're Cambodian minorities living in the southern part of Vietnam around the Mekong Delta. And I visited, the home where my father grew up, the temple where he was a monk, the open market, and so on. Then I asked my uncles and aunts, my father's brothers and sisters, what he was like. And this is the story that they told me about what he did under the Khmer Rouge regime. It's a little tough. Um, it's called Debt. My father walked up to the Khmer Rouge after they killed the children and opened their stomachs to eat the livers. My father got down on his knees, clapped hands overhead, and begged them for a sliver of a victim's liver so that I would not starve. While everyone was sleeping, my father snuck into the kitchen, stole a branch of coconuts, and buried them in the woods. Each time I cried from hunger, he disappeared into the night, dug up a coconut, gave me the juice to drink, and with dirt-encrusted fingers, spoon out the flesh for me, his only child. So, those were, I guess, has to do with death and ghosts. This one has to do with my daughter. Um, Under the Khmer regime, love was forbidden and family love was frowned upon because love is very, powerful. It could threaten the authority of the government of the Khmer regime. Uh, so when I became a father for the first time, I saw my daughter as like a symbol of love and power and resistance against what the Khmer forbid, which was, family. Um, so this one is dedicated to her. Her Khmer name is Janda, and that's translated into as Moon in Khmer, and that's the title of the poem, Moon in Khmer. You are light when the sun is punched out and darkness reigns. You are the antidote to what came before, black blood, black heart, hands tied, kneeling before a ditch of human bones. Your laughter pierces the silence of night that bore witness to the once blood-soaked land. Your existence is resistant to the genocide that orphaned your father and drove his family out of the homeland. You are love against the hate of the Khmer Rouge. This is the meaning of your name, Tanda. This is how to defeat Pol Pot. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge, brother number one. So maybe one more poem from this chapbook. This one is about memory. I I'm a child survivor of the Cambodian genocide, but I have no memory of the atrocities, uh, of the hunger and starvation and the brutality under the Khmer Rouge. And my wife said, this is about memory. You have selective memory. Uh, so this is a poem about that. The mercy of memory. My cousin tells me about what he witnessed. The way they drag his neighbor by the legs, how the poor man begged for mercy. When they didn't stop, the neighbor looked up to the sky and sobbed quietly at the indifference of the universe. After the neighbor was disappeared, there was nothing left but the hot sun. The sky was blue and the birds sang their beautiful songs over rice fields. The silence of that moment has haunted my cousin through the years. As for me, I have no recollections, no evidence of atrocities I could document or share in commiseration. I must have been 4 or 5 when the Khmer Rouge took over Kampuchea. I must have seen and heard things. I must have felt fear when carried in the night on my grandmother's back. This is the mercy of memory, how it opens and closes certain doors to sustain itself. Just enough light for the self to continue, like the memory of love a grandmother had for her grandson. So, speaking of my grandmother, this is a poem. I think about that. Logye is the Khmer word for grandmother. Um, and I also sort of see poetry as a kind of prayer. Um, there are certain poems when you read out loud, it becomes a prayer in the sense of it sustains you, it keeps you calm. I don't know if you feel about that way when it comes to poetry. So this one is called Poems of Prayers. No matter the day or the state of the world, no matter the night or your state of mind, whisper it under your breath until your lips tremble. Let the magic electrify your tongue, swirl inside you until your body glows fluorescent, like the time you had a fever and no one knew what to do except Logye, who wiped your damp forehead with a cloth. She closed her eyes and whispered ballet, combing her fingers through your hair. You receive her Buddha light. Awaken, you're ready for the living again. I think that's enough. I don't want to, that's enough. There's another one, but I think it's okay. You get a sense of what I do. Thank you.
If you would both put some links to your work, I did put websites that had some information, but if you want to put the most recent information you have into the chat, that would be terrific. Thank you so much, both of you, for these wonderful poems that are different and wonderful uh, in their own ways. And I'm lucky to have this job of curating reading series so I can bring people whose work I want to hear. Thank you. So I've put together a short open mic because last time I feel it really got out of hand. So I kept the numbers down a little bit. And if you could each read one shortish poem, um, we're going to start with Hetty because she has to leave early. But in the future, those of you who want to be on the open and didn't make it this time, please try to come earlier because that's how you can be sure you can get onto the open mic.
And everyone else, I'm also going to say I'm going to keep it at gallery view because sometimes it takes me half of the poem to figure out how to put the spotlight on a poet. So we're just going to be kind of equal here, all equally in our square spaces.
So Hetty's first and Elaine is on deck.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. Thank you so much, Judy and Bunkung. It is, I'm speechless. It was a magnificent gift to listen to these poems. I'm going to be reading a recent poem that was also recently published. It's part of an upcoming manuscript that I'm compiling about my childhood and adolescence. It doesn't have the gravitas of what we have just heard, and it is titled Matinee. Ever since I was a toddler, my dad would take me to matinee. Godzilla, King Kong, or the creature of the Black Lagoon darkened the screen with scaly, hairy bodies, their menacing, glaring eyes I couldn't bear. I'd nestle my face in his chest. He'd cover my eyes with his palm. I'd later ask who the good or bad guys were, only to be relieved whenever the bad guys were down. He was gone too soon, and no one guided me through the fine line between good and evil. Nothing was black and white anymore. Even monsters were redeemed by under Technicolor's glamour. I still wonder if it matters who the good or bad guys are, while screens brim daily with visions of horror over boundaries, brothers destined to disagree, bearing the curse of Cain and Abel. Shouldn't peace begin in our hearts, homes extend into infinite ripples to form a mirroring pond, see ourselves reflected in our neighbor's semblance? How can we finally understand we're all born out of a frustrated desire for love and hope, and stop inflicting others with a pain we wouldn't endure? Thank you.
That was wonderful, Hetty. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry that Tricia didn't find you to spotlight you. So the rest of you had to look at my mug the whole time. Our next reader is Elaine.
Robbie, I'm keeping everyone in the gallery view. So I don't think anyone's spotlighted right now.
Oh, I look like I'm spotlighted to myself.
And to me as well. But I'll begin. My name's Elaine Mincer, and I chose this poem because Robbie had a poem in One Art this week that began, I had a sister once. So this is my poem, Crows. I had a sister. She ran the bases, slid into second and picked herself up, dusting her hands on her pants. Her laughter rang through the twilight, and sitting here on splintered bleachers 30 years after her death, I hear it. In the outfield, grass sprouts lush and silent. Beyond that, crows cry murder from swaying branches. I have a daughter. She's in the infield with the other girls. Their voices bubble and rise. They throw, catch, pitcher to catcher, catcher to first, first to third. I think they might fly away on their outstretched arms. Today, my daughter is on the pitcher's mound. She checks out the catcher, the batter, the runner on first. Ball 3 calls the umpire. Good eye, the other parents cheer into the wind. She cups the ball in both hands, winds up and releases. The dull bell of ball on metal bat. I wish, like the crow, I had a call to voice the longing I feel as I watch my girl, that my word would fly into her glove with a clap. Live, I'd tell her, live.
Thank you, Elaine. I'm glad that my poem spurred you to read that. The next reader is Gary Rosen.
I don't have anything to read today.
Oh, okay. There you go then. Well, good to see you anyway. Our next reader is Rose then, and on deck will be Judy.
Okay, I'm reading a poem that has just been published in Verse Virtual, one of the two. When I'm reading too many poems about spending those last hours with your mother. Loving ghosts, last pressing of hands, a sigh, wings on the walls, a corn husk, where once there was a full-breasted breathing and scalding being. The smile, the last sunlight of the day filtering through torn curtains, dust particles dancing in the evening sun, an early moth settling on her red headrest, and the rustle of whispered voices only she can hear, grief mixed with relief. One last moment of shame, one last moment of regrets, one last moment of love, one last moment of touch. My mother died without me, in a hospital bed, wrestling with her demons. 3 days to die, 3 days of waiting for me, for the mutual forgiving. I never showed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
Robbie,
Our
hi.
next reader
Hi,
is
everyone. I'm putting the link to the artwork that my poem is based on in the chat. Robbie, could you possibly have
okay,
that
it's not
show?
me. Tricia has to do it. So
Tricia,
Tricia,
can you do it, please?
Tricia can be Judy, please show an image.
Oh, yes.
Can you see it, Tricia?
Give me a second. Let's see.
There.
Security.
All right, to hold these up.
Have you figured out how to make someone a co-host? Because that won't do it.
I can make you host, Robbie. Let's see.
No, not me. Make
Judy, let me make you a
Judy.
host.
Well, okay. Can I
Who's
just
your
click on the
host?
link if you do that?
Yeah, if you put the link in, I can do that.
Okay. Well, the link is in the chat, so it's about 3 up from the
No,
edge.
that won't work, Judy.
So what do we need to do?
Okay, is Judy the host now?
I can make you
No.
host.
Make her host.
There you go.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So how do I get this into on the screen then?
Okay, you click on the link. And then do you know how to share?
There we go.
Yeah.
It's up, but
It's
I'm not
not
sure.
okay. So once you see it,
Yeah.
you should see everything on your desktop. You push share, the green down at the bottom, and choose it from the documents that you see.
Okay.
And then click on it.
Okay.
And we'll tell you when we see it.
There. Should be up. No?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
We
Okay.
see it.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your help. Really appreciate it. I'm Judy Cronenfeld, and I'd like to read Shine and Verve based on this Hopper painting. The architectural features of the buildings across the way seem to dissolve into Stygian gloom, but the pharmacy's lit window, awning still furled above, alchemizes the night. The way a plane's bejeweled beauty, navigation light on port wingtip ruby, on starboard wingtip emerald, on tail diamond white, exalts the deep black sky it glides across. Mysterious as heraldic signs without a key, red and green liquids gleam like crystals of carnelian and tourmaline in two suspended glass show globes with necks wrapped in gold. The wide red and blue ribbons hanging from the ceiling, narrowing as they descend, are pure staging, as if something festive, sportive, or patriotic is going on or soon approaching. And the shine and verve are not extinguished by X-lax following prescriptions, drugs under the Silber's pharmacy sign, or the prosaic reiteration of what appears to be the same item packaged in blue with red labels, taking up the window's horizontal center. Deodorant powder, Epsom salts? Ah, maybe it's the store's discreet treatment of private purchases that's suggested. A pharmacy looking just like this one occupied the corner of the Bronx block I grew up on. Turn the corner and discover the exhausted tailor hunched over his sewing machine in the window of his shop, a tattooed number showing on his forearm. A few steps down the hill, see the cobbler driving nails into the soles of shoes. A few steps more, find the window of the musty vegetable store with its unintentional exhibit of empty wooden crates, not even hairy carrots and Argus-eyed potatoes. I think I loved that drugstore window for its ineffable excess, the way it overflowed the humbly referential, the brio of those pennants without a team, the secret contents disguised in uniforms of blue and red, the glow of those unknowable fluids.
I'm sorry. Sometimes a little slow. Our next reader is Lori Kuntz. Lori, did you want to read?
But you have to take the picture down first.
Yes, so.
Where is the share?
Yeah, I'm looking at the share again, see if I can get that up from.
I don't even see the button.
Do stop share.
Okay. It isn't there.
We need to stop sharing.
Just push the X in the corner.
Let's try that. I can find it.
There's an X right there in the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay,
now you can unhost her, Tricia.
I'm host again. I'm in control.
Okay.
There you go. So Lori, did you want to read?
Yes, I
still
do.
There?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone. Beautiful readings from everybody. Thank you. My granddaughter will be 2 months old tomorrow, and this poem was written just before she was born. It's called Waiting for My Granddaughter to Be Born. While the world falls apart and I worry about shelter and rain, wars break daily, in country and out. Everyone's tomorrow tumbles like dominoes on a wobbly table. I tell my son I am writing a poem for his daughter. He says, stay away from roses, Junes, moons, Ferris wheels, and all things that turn, for the turning makes one dizzy. But it is in the turning that I wait, with the world in its fall, for that magic word of arrival, bringing all the good that rings with the greeting. Grandchild, welcome to the world. Your turn. Thank you.
Love it. Thank you. Our next reader is Lindsay.
Hi, everybody. Thanks to the readers for their poems and everyone's poems. I'm enjoying myself very much. Thank you. I'm going to read something with a lot of levity, and I'll introduce it by saying I was at a leaky Barnstone's house, and she had to go do something. And so her husband, Craig, and I decided that we would get high and listen to music. And we did, but he made the mistake of giving me not 5 milligrams, which is all I can handle, but 25 milligrams. And so there comes the story. This is called Pass the Remote Game. And this is the game we were playing is you pass the remote back and forth and you turn someone on, the other person on to a piece of music they've never heard. Okay. Pass the remote game. After taking the strongest gummy, we tripped aquatic on blues and rock, the taste of magenta and purple haze, sound of mint and cucumber, and virtuoso musicians bending strings, huffing lyrics, riffing the sublime, most sporting shaggy rock hair and 70s natural afros. Do you know this song? Have you heard this? Musicians, fierce, clasped their instruments, locked on, and spit dragon fire through mega speakers, birthing us new. I became a shiny black onyx. I looked like a stone, breathed like a stone, stone to the max. I don't know what Craig became as we sat there eating fresh cherries like planets. I could have wept like a jackass over Terry Katz's funkadelic transport, wrestled from gut and heart and groin. Too high to tap my foot, I opened my lounging couch arms like a crossing guard's and took up space as light glinted off fiberglass guitars and the skeletons of drum kits. The release was quick. I lost care for due dates, grading, and everything needing answer. Have you heard this song? Music flowed over us like rippled ocean, clear over wet sand. And with each new musical turn on, we looked at each other, our air guitars and drumsticks poised for something badass, as if spring had just surged green out of season. We played the air and we listened for the miracle. And when we were finished, we listened again.
Well, that was a vicarious trip. Thank you very much. It's Brandon's turn.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and thanks for having me. This has been a fantastic reading. And Lindsay, that's actually the second time I've heard you read that poem here. And I enjoyed it the second time more than the first. So thank you very much. In the spirit of Bunkang's reading, I'm going to read a poem for my buddy John, my best friend who passed a couple of years ago. And I miss him very much. So this poem is called When We Were Younger, for John. We'd hunkered down like hermits in his open garage, barely beyond the reach of the rain, and listen to the footsteps of thunderstorms approach. We'd make up stories the way we imagined children had done down by the river's edge thousands of years prior, with the protection of the forest behind them, wondering which pantheon of gods were angry with whom, why, and how long they were to war behind the clouds. A lover of myths and stars, I always imagined the thunder with Scorpio's tail slamming into the impenetrable ground where Orion had just been. And because you loved to gamble, you always thought it was two enormous giants, most likely cousins of Odin, who were angry over a hand of poker. You'd say, one's always chasing the other. And 20-something years later, during the best thunderstorms we get, my grief keeps on sitting down at the table with what chips its loving spirit can buy, always chasing. Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay. Next up, well, it looks like Tricia is next up.
Thank you. I just have to keep reminding myself to breathe. I'm holding my breath through this whole reading. Usually I read one of my own poems, but I want to read a poem in honor of my friend Linda Neal. And Linda Neal has been a longtime friend of the Poetry Salon community, and I've been thinking about her a lot lately. And much to her credit, she usually writes longer poems. I've been looking for one of hers that's short, and I think this is the one that I think is most appropriate. This is called Ceremony. And I'll also say that Linda has a couple books out, Dodge and Burn and Not About Dinosaurs, both from Bambaz Press, both really terrific books, and I would encourage you all to get them. This is called Ceremony. To make a ceremony, you have to travel far from the familiar. You have to leave the dust of everyday strife behind and let the sky take you. What's more, to build a ceremony, you must have a patch of earth, some leafy sycamores and a pine with dazzling cones. You must spread rose petals on the earth, and everyone must sit in a circle according to their birth month. There will be ants and spiders and your regrets in transparent hues, because everything is sacred in the eye of the ceremony. Their ceremony will hold what you ask of it, birth and death, your ancestors and your children, all of your sorrow and all of your joy, because you believe it can. You believe in the circle, in the way the shaman sweeps the air around you, the way he blesses you with sage. Belief is a shoe you've tried on many times and finally found a fit. It's not that you suddenly believe in God more than you believe in yourself and in belief. You have the courage to believe in belief, a benign transparency that hangs around long after the photograph is shot. Do you penetrate the veil? Is there any veil at all? What was and what is, the imagined realm and the real. We bury bones and sniff for our own cocoon treasure, maybe for a lifetime or eternity.
Thank you, Tricia. I'm going to show an image from my book, a borrowed image, which is on the cover of my book that the artist Kylie Spar very kindly allowed me to use, and it really made the difference. So I'll share that.
And Robbie, where can we hear you read from your new book?
Well, I put the information into the chat, but after I read the poem, I will put it in the chat again, because tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, I will be launching this beautiful collection of ekphrastic poems that was fabulously done by Shanti Arts Press. It's really gorgeous, and I feel honored that they did this with my poems. The poem's called Disquiet, which is the title of the image. And again, it's after Kylie Spar's work by the same name. On the ocean floor, sleeping groupers camouflage themselves as rocks. Cocoon in clouds of sand and mucus spun out of the substance of their bodies as spider spinnerets led down a line of silk. I'm like that, like the whelk within the fortress of a shell, shielded in a vaporous void. It doubles as a dress of white chiffon, inverted parachute that spirals round my body like vanilla soft serve, ribbon of cream in coffee. When I feel threatened, the dress sets up its own internal wind and weather swallows me whole. At the first sign of threat, it automatically inflates. I take flight on milky tides of moonbeams, streamers of phantom light. Thank you.
Beautiful, Robbie.
Thank you. I think I have to look for it again because I've since clicked on other things and saved other things. So now you can get the book at Bookshop, and I will put the title of the book in after I find this. I can't believe I did that.
While Robbie is looking for it again, I will make another announcement. As you all know, we love doing this with each other and for each other. And uh, the more I live, old as I am, the more I realize that this is what it's all about, the being together with each other and sharing each other's stories. And I will just say the last week of November, I'm offering a week of workshops at the Poetry Salon for anyone who makes a donation to the Second Harvest Food Bank. You know, we all know there are a lot of people who really need help right now, and this is one way we can be helpful to each other. And during that week, I will be offering classes. My cousin John Pearson has a class on Tuesday. John Branningham, who's been a featured poet for us, is going to be doing a class. Kim Malinowski, and I think Karen Stewart. And we just really want anyone who wants to be there with us for any of those workshops to come and join us and have a good time. And we'll be making some poems that can also double as holiday gifts. So save money on gifts, save the planet, make your own gifts, don't indulge in over consumerism, and give to Second Harvest. It's all good times, and you get to spend time with us. So I will put my email in the chat, and I'll put my Substack link in there so you can know where to go.
Well, I was going to ask for questions for the readers, but they're pooped. So I won't inflict that on them right now, especially since you guys are back east and it's late already. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for reading your wonderful work. Thank you to our features and to everybody else. And I hope to see some of you tomorrow.
Thank you,
Anybody
everybody.
local? I'm reading in Long Beach next week on the 12th. Bye.
And Robbie, you're actually host, so you can be the one that hits the goodbye button.
Okay.